17, I was looking at the press, and I started seeing what was happening in terms of matric results. And then the matric results came out, and they were pointing at something about 76% in terms of pass rate. And then I saw the opposition was saying, no, it's not 76%, it's something more like 46%. And I didn't quite understand this, so I started digging and started doing some research. And then I just started unfolding this massive plethora of information in terms of what's going on in South Africa in unemployment, and specifically in youth unemployment. And I started understanding why they were saying that it's actually under 50%, which is the unemployment, the pass rate. And when you take into consideration the amount of kids who start grade 1 and those who finish grade 12, there's up to 300,000 dropping off every single year in school. So when you throw that back onto the total figure, then the 46%, that's where it comes from. And I was like, quite, wow, this is unbelievable. Where are all these people falling off at school? And I coach and train and educate entrepreneurs today. That's what I do for a living. And I thought, well, maybe it's time to actually not just train entrepreneurs, but to actually create entrepreneurs. And where best to start is to go to our school, our learners. And then I started looking into that and seeing that there was a complete lack of entrepreneurship in our school system. And then the unemployment figures, well, that just blew my mind. I don't know if you want me to share those with you.
Before you do, now on Monday you had the launch of the Scooler project. Tell us a bit about the launch. What this launch entailed?
Well, the launch was making a website live. That really happened on Tuesday. And that evening I did another interview on another radio station, and that was it. It was the launch of a website. It's the launch of the competition, which is 100,000 Rand up for grabs. It's a 50,000 Rand cash prize and 50,000 Rand for the education and coaching with myself. And the idea is to see what is out there at the moment in our schools in terms of how many kids are actually running a little money-making venture, a hobby, or a little business. And for them to come and enter. So the entries have started coming, and we had like 50 entries in the first 2 hours. And it's amazing to see what the kids are doing. Obviously, we took quite a risk because we have no idea if there's any kids making money at school. And so that's what the competition is, to draw awareness to entrepreneurship. We obviously have a long-term plan, but we have to do something in order just to attract the awareness, and also to make kids aware of this thing called entrepreneurship. Because there's a complete... everyone's finishing school and wanting to rush off to university and college and go and work. Not many kids are going into the entrepreneurship studying mode or learning mode.
Sufyan, I think all I have to say is that possibilities are really endless. There are really endless possibilities when it comes to, especially this initiative.
No, definitely. And I think it's very important. I don't think that entrepreneurship and university are binary options. So I think university is a wonderful option. In fact, if you look at the world's most successful entrepreneurs and business people, they often at least have a minimum of an undergraduate degree. But it's about changing people's mindset that even if you go to university, go there. If they've been exposed to a program, like in my instance, I was fortunate when I was in high school to actually do a course on entrepreneurship in high school. I ran a car wash business when I was in high school. I've always been buying and selling things, and then I was on the Alan Gray Orbis Foundation as well. But when I was at university, I used that as a platform for my own entrepreneurship endeavors instead of as a platform to get a job. So that's an option that young people need to be aware of as well. And also, be it if they go to any tertiary, institution that they go to. But I think I definitely agree. It's just getting that mindset. South Africans have got a very low entrepreneurial mindset. If you look at the stats that I'm sure you have, looking at our entrepreneurship activity versus other African countries, we lag behind quite substantially. And this is one of the reasons why, despite being a more advanced economy, we've got a much higher unemployment rate than countries that are technically poorer than us.
Yeah. Leon, perhaps you can just run us through how the competition works. What exactly are, can I say, the criteria?
Okay, so it's very simple because we don't want to make this a difficult thing. So anybody, any grade 8 to grade 12 has a business venture, hobby, or a small business that they run at school or out of school, but they make some money. They make pocket money. all they've got to do is go to the website, which is www.scooler, which is SCOOLER.co.za. They go to that website and they click on enter. They go and fill in their details of their business. They tell us a little bit about their business, who they are, what school they are, what school they're with, and they submit their idea. It's as simple as that. Then they ask their family, friends, and their students, their fellow learners, to go and vote for them. So there will be a voting process. Obviously, we have to try and find out how do we get to a winner. So the goal is to choose the top 10 kids that have got the most votes. However, there may be some people who won't be able to get votes. So we're also going to draw another 5 people that we think have got a nice business, but they didn't get the votes. All right? So the top 5 that we believe, those are the top 5 that can stand a chance to win. Once we have the 15, then a judging panel looks through the 15, and we decide which one could we possibly help the most, and that this business could actually go somewhere. And, either into another school or other schools, and then we announce the winner on the 19th of October.
Interesting. Now, if you have just joined us, you're listening to Radio 786 on 100.4 FM, and I'd love for you to be part of this conversation. I'm speaking to Leon Lategan, who is the founder of Scooler, and what they're basically doing is that Leon, as you mentioned, he's taken really a serious stance on unemployment and empowering the youth through education and mentorship. In that kind of way, what he's doing is he's trying to almost develop entrepreneurs from a school level. So it's really about drawing grade 8 to 12 students from across the country and from all walks of life into the school entrepreneur movement by making them aware of what entrepreneurship is about, and to create and inspire them to shape their own futures by exploring an alternative to mainstream tertiary education. Now, in terms of entering for this competition, so as you mentioned, from any school between grade 8 to grade 12, is there a period? How long is the period that?
Sorry, what I also forgot to mention was people who are schooled from home may also enter.
Oh, okay. Okay, good.
So the dating is on the 29th of September. We'll close the competition, and then on the 12th of October we announce the top 10, and then on the 19th of October we announce the winner.
Mm-hmm. Okay, 021-699-1786 or 0786-10-11-12. Sufyan, what are your thoughts?
No, I think it's wonderful. I'm keen to hear how the response has been so far.
Okay, so there's 6 months of research into this since December happened. I've actually been to a school. I would love to have gone to more schools. I went to a school and spoke to about just over 90 grade 12s. The interesting thing there that none of them was considering doing entrepreneurship as a subject or course following the next year. But when I asked who has a business idea, 19 hands went up. So that in one class of 90 people. But I can almost guarantee that none of those 19 ideas will come to fruition because they're going to go study something. Now, we spoke earlier about university and stuff. So let me just tell you my story, because this is actually part of why when I saw this in December, it wasn't just what I read that excited me. I went to UCT, and I spent 4 years at UCT. And asked me if I have a degree. I do not have a degree. I fell out of university. I failed and I left university. I studied Bachelor of Business Science Marketing. Today, I'm a specialist in marketing. I teach I've trained over 2,500 entrepreneurs in the last 3 years in how to market their business. Yet I failed a degree in marketing. And that just sums it up for me. So in terms of going to university, my message to parents is do not send your kids to university, just yet. And the just yet is very important. And the way I see this is whether you're going to be doing, because everyone goes, what if I want to be a doctor? I must go to university. Absolutely you must. But why don't you do a first year course of entrepreneurship? Because as a doctor, you might have your own practice. As a lawyer, you might have your own practice. So the beauty about entrepreneurship is it introduces you to things like sales, marketing, finance, HR, all those things you need as a business owner. So and another reason for that is the amount of people who've been turned down by universities. So let me give you an example. The UJ had 105,000 people apply. They only take 10,000. So 90,000 people could not get into UJ. Wits had 62,000 apply. They only take 6,000. So people aren't getting into university. I mean, who's even going through those applications? All they're doing is looking at the results of the top people and saying, you can come, you can come, you can come, you can come. So they probably don't even go through all the applications, because if your results aren't good, you're not getting in. So my message in terms of this is that the youth should think about what can we do after school, even if they take a gap year and go work in a restaurant, go and do whatever, but just do not go to university, because we're not ready to make that decision until we've had a bit of life experience. And by doing an entrepreneurship course, you can actually see a subject you might find, hold on, I didn't realize I'm actually creative. Or I've spoken to some youth, and the first thing they say is, why am I studying geography? And I go, well, probably to know which is the capital of the USA and the capital of the UK and stuff like that. And then they go, why am I studying physics? Because they're not going to be applying that in their real life. So this is the problem that I have. So to come back to your question, so the response has been incredible in terms of us going to corporates and speaking to them. The only problem is that everyone goes, wonderful idea, but no one's willing to back you. You know, corporates, we had someone phone us out of the blue and said, I'd like to give you 20,000 Rand towards this thing. And we were, who are you? I was so shocked that I actually went and checked them out on LinkedIn, because I thought it was a scam. Okay, I saw on LinkedIn they were connected to two people that I know. One was my brother's best friend. I phoned him. I said, do you know this guy? I think it's a scam. They're trying to give us 20 grand, and maybe they're going to ask for 40 back or something. He phoned the guy who was sitting in Egypt. He said, I heard about this. I love it. That's why I'm giving the money. But you go to big corporates. We're doing this, and we're doing that, and we're doing that. I mean, no one is in help. So for me, I'm doing this myself. I'm putting in the finances, and we're doing this ourselves, regardless of whether we get government or corporate input.
That is the voice of Leon Lategan, who is in studio this morning, and did a very interesting initiative that he started called Scooler, the School Entrepreneur Movement. Now, we know that the rate of unemployment in our country is really always on the increase, and we're talking about the ways and means of really changing the mindset of students already while they're at school. Now, you mentioned something very interesting, and I think we've also spoken about this in the past, Sufyan, that maybe a university should not be something that you go for immediately. You maybe take that gap year, because you also find that there are many university students who change what they study after the first year. Then the first year is almost as if it was a waste. Sufyan.
No, definitely, and I think the fact that you mentioned on the crisis of spaces in university is something we've touched on.
Yes.
As well on prior shows, and the fact that your capacity has not expanded with universities, but demand has just shot through, and the fact that we don't have enough options available to people who don't want to pursue that thing. So for example, if somebody is looking at perhaps like your point about entrepreneurship really comes into everything. I mean, if you want to even go down an artisan route, for example, which is maybe non-conventional. Then and you have that entrepreneurship background, you can always end up combining, the two. And in fact, we're moving towards a world where it's going to be entrepreneurially driven. I mean, there was a time when prosperity meant, having a good qualification and then getting yourself a good job in a good corporate and working until you're 65 and retiring and getting pension. That method of prosperity, it's dead. But many people are still stuck in that old thinking and thinking that, the way for my kid to get ahead is to follow that same route, because that was the way in the past to get ahead. And the shift, hasn't yet been made. And that is why we see entrepreneurship not really being promoted as it should. And I think also it's important just to, to bring context as well. I mean, if you think of the school system that we go through, that I went through, that you probably went through, that you went through, Zainab, as well, it was designed by factory bosses in the Industrial Revolution to produce factory workers. That is why there's no creativity. It's about conforming. You've got 2 breaks, just like you would at a factory. You sit, you take orders, you sit in rows, and it's all just about conformity. So the world has changed so much since the Industrial Revolution. I mean, we're now in the 4th Industrial Revolution, but our education system is still in the 1st Industrial Revolution.
Yeah. a very good point, and I think it's really something that we should maybe talk about some more. Just to the listeners, that Scooler provides a platform for students at school to start asking vital questions and really exploring entrepreneurial alternatives. You can visit their website. It's www.scooler.co.za if you wish to find a bit more, and really to create awareness about the school entrepreneur movement. You can go to the website as you mentioned, or you can call in on 021-699-1786 or WhatsApp us on 0786-1011-12 if you have any questions for Leon Lategan, who is in studio with us and really talking about what Scooler is about. And it's a very interesting competition of how you can actually set out your future for yourselves. And this is really aimed at grade 8 to grade 12 students from across the country and from all walks of life. So if you are maybe a mom and you're listening, and you have a student who is between grade 8 and 12, then really I think it's important for you to take note and find a bit more and go into the website. Now, before we do go for the break, Mr. Lategan, maybe you can just also tell us a bit more about what you hope to achieve. I know that you will be assisting someone who wants to start a business, but how would that process really work? Tell us a bit more.
So, obviously, the initial part is just the awareness. So I really want kids to start thinking about something different than going to tertiary education. And part of those reasons, I think what's critical for parents here is to understand what is actually happening out in the youth environment. And if I can just give you some stats in terms of that. In our youth, in South Africa alone, we have 3.3 million between the age of 15 and 24 who are unemployed. Let's say that again, 3.3 million between 15 and 24 who are unemployed, that don't have a job. And actually they call it NEET. They're not in education, they're not in training, and they are not being, there's one other. And so that's worrying. And there's so many different reports on this, but Stellenbosch University also came out with a report saying that 36% of people will finish their degree in 4 years. And the Department of Education came out and said 48% of people will not finish their degree. So if we've got about 1 million students at university. That means 500,000 of those won't finish their degree. Why are they going to do a degree in the first place? That's my question. So I think what I'm hoping to achieve it's not only about the kids, it's actually really about the parents to say, stop thinking about, I've got to send my child to university or to a college to make a living. No, you don't have to. It's quite simple and easy if you know how. Now that's the part where education comes in, because someone will go, fine, I can leave school and I want to go and what do I do? Who's going to teach me? Well, this is something I do. That's why I'm so passionate about it. It's because I give you a lovely story just to indicate the power of entrepreneurship, and if you know how. So I took on a young black guy about 3.5 months ago. He's a residential painter. He paints houses. And he's making probably 4,000 Rand a month. So I said, let me help you. So we sorted out his website and got someone to do some advertising, and I paid 1,000 Rand out of my cash into Google as an advertising budget. He made 5 grand in the first month from that 1,000, right? In the second month, he made 12,000 from that 1,000. Right? Then I said, okay, we've kind of hit a ceiling because you only get so much business from 1,000. So I said, let me try. So in August, I put in 3,000 Rand. And of the 3,000, we only spent 1,800, and we got over 200,000 Rands worth of quotes coming in. We're waiting for some of them to finish off. We've lost about 67,000. We're waiting for maybe 125,000 worth of business. This month, we've spent 1,200, and we're waiting on one quote worth 300,000 Rand. If we get that, I mean, I'm getting goose flesh now because that's spending 1,200 Rand on this guy. So it's not like you need 1 million Rand to start a business. You know, people look at the entrepreneurs and go, oh, you cowboys, you're these warriors out there and you want to start and you want 1 million Rand. No, that's what everyone misunderstands. You don't need 1 million Rand. You need maybe 10 to 20 grand and you can start a business. This guy's spending, as I say, 1,200 Rand. If he makes that 300,000, it's going to pay his salary for the next 2 years. If he never works again. Which is quite phenomenal, right? But he doesn't know how to do that. So that's where my expertise comes. I actually even take his calls. So when someone fills in an inquiry, comes to my phone, I phone them back and I do the deal. So it just shows if you have the skills to do it. So they've got to get those skills. That's why I really suggest that there is an entrepreneur course coming that's part of our growth. So next year we want to offer an entrepreneur course for students because there's a serious lack of that. You can try and get hold of some of these places that offer a 6-week course and 7-week course. Well, you're lucky if they even respond to you via email or telephone call. So the goal is to really get students thinking about it, but more important is that the parent can hopefully have some influence on the child and say, you know what, my son, you've got a great entrepreneurial spirit. I don't want to send you to university. Let's see if we can start getting you into studying how to be an entrepreneur.
The school entrepreneur movement, who is challenging government and businesses to stop talking about unemployment and really commit to creating an entrepreneurial spirit in our schools. Sufyan, before we go for a break, is there anything you'd like to add?
I think maybe we could just touch on, I think you noted the fact, and obviously we've seen, on your infographic sheet that the unemployment rates are obviously a lot higher amongst blacks and coloured individuals than amongst whites and Indians. And how do you plan on sort of addressing that? Obviously there is a systematic component of apartheid, but obviously there's also a mindset component with that. So is there a way that we could reach those audiences and perhaps put more information or more, or sort of package things better so they can get a better understanding of the reality of the situation and the importance of entrepreneurship?
Great question. So initially we went out, we got a database from the education department of 9,000 schools, which we emailed. And if I can tell you that half those people are dead and the other half are retired, that's how bad that database is. So we eventually got to some of them. The interesting thing is I can see by the name of the schools that it is those in the rural areas that have responded to us saying, yes, we need these are the principals coming back to us. So obviously this is open to all schools. We want to get to every single school. If someone from SACS enters, wonderful, but I'm also trying to get to those schools where there actually is probably a higher mindset for entrepreneurship because where do I go when I've finished my school in a rural area? So our goal is over the next 2 weeks is to contact, we have a team now, ready to contact all 9,000 schools to get the correct details so that we can go back to all those principals and say, here it is, please tell your students. The interesting thing is we've had 1 or 2 schools come back and say we're not interested. And I'm almost wanting to mail them back. In fact, we have with some of them to say, what do you mean you're not interested? Why would you not tell your students about this? So when a school says to you blatantly, we're not interested, it blows my mind. Why wouldn't you tell your students about this? It's got nothing to do with the school, just tell your students about it. So it's the low end of schools that actually are more excited than the high end schools. And I'm totally okay with that. I think where my entrepreneur comes from.
This is Radio 786 on 100.4 FM. That the voice of Leon Lategan, who is the founder of the School Entrepreneur Movement, and they're doing some amazing work, really trying to give back to school or to students by creating an entrepreneurial spirit in schools. And of course, we are creating awareness this morning. You too can be part of the conversation. 0786 1011 12 or 021699176. Also in studio is the resident guest, who is Sufyan Al-Talib, educational coach and also maths and science tutor. After the break, we continue. Stay tuned.
And make your life so much easier with 1UP Cash and Carry, where you get more for less and excellent customer service at its best. Remember, wholesale prices straight to the public. 1UP Cash and Carry, where you get more for less. More for less, it's easier with 1UP Cash and Carry.
Get your tongue dancing with Twizza's refreshing exotic flavors. Twizza Mango and Twizza Lychee. Experience the intoxicating aroma of summer and the tantalizing taste of a tropical island with every sip. Flavors so real, they music to your mouth. Twizza, love the flavor.
Ever tasted a sour strawberry? Ever tasted a sour strawberry? Or perhaps craving a crazy burst of fruity flavor? Broadway Sweets presents a new addition to its family. Let's see strawberry strips will tape up your taste buds in a tingling sensation of mouth-watering, tongue-twisting, lip-curling, and exciting flavor. It will leave you craving for more. So, go on and taste the new fruity fun Fritz C Sour Date, which has everybody talking. Available in blueberry, raspberry, apple, and so much more. Now at leading sweet outlets countrywide. Fritz C. Ask for it by name.
Welcome to AHK Motor Spares. We specialize in most passenger vehicles, taxis and light commercial vehicle spares at wholesale prices. Visit our branches in Philippi Plaza, Paro Industria, Yester River, Kales River, Klipfontein Road, Rylands, Retreat, and now Watergate, Mitchell's Plain. AHK Motor Spares. Quality spares at affordable wholesale prices. Visit our new store at Watergate Shopping Centre, Mitchell's Plain.
Airports Company South Africa will be hosting an Enterprise and Supplier Development Roadshow on Tuesday, 28th August 2018. This will be held at the Cape Town International Convention Centre, Ballroom West from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The roadshow will cover their transformation agenda, enterprise and supplier development agenda, as well as business opportunities at their airports. To RSVP, please email esd@airports.co.za by Friday, the 24th of August 2018. For more information, visit airports.co.za.
In his provocative and insightful book, Document X, author Dr. Joseph Noor sets out to prove the existence of God. He demonstrates that the Quran, a 7th century document, addresses the big questions of existence. In precise scientific language, this ancient document expresses its superior knowledge of the universe, revealing its deep secrets and thereby showing that the Quran is not the outcome of human imagination. On this basis, the reader is compelled to invoke a superior intelligent mind to account for the ultra-modern information it contains. God, therefore, exists. Document X is a must-read for every thinking person. Visit www.documentx.net or tune into Community Pulse every Friday after 9 a.m. only on Radio 786 and 100.4 FM.
Radio 786, 100.4 FM stereo. Radio 786.
22:12 on Radio 786. If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome. The final hour this morning in Education Matters on Radio 786 with Sufyan Al-Tadib, who is a maths and science tutor, also educational coach, together with our guest this morning, who is Mr. Lategan, Leon Lategan, who joins us in studio, also the founder of Scooler, the school entrepreneur movement, speaking to us about really what this initiative is about. And as the founder of Scooler, who is Leon, mentions and points out, he says that we have found a serious lack of information available to students at schools around the subject of entrepreneurship, resulting in very few of them exploring this avenue after school. He also adds that statistics reveal grim prospects for school leavers. 49% of students with grade 12 and 23.3% with a tertiary education will not find jobs. Now that is really scary. It's alarming, and it shouldn't just remain figures, because it should be something that makes us all think. And I think that it's like the WhatsApp message that we just received says that it's amazing, and it's really good to know that there are people and businesses doing something about changing the mindsets and trying to work towards eradicating unemployment within the communities. And I think, Sufyan, that this is one of those things that is doing that.
Definitely. And I think we've brought numerous, amazing initiatives. And perhaps it's something that you should look at doing as well. We had someone in here actually who was a former principal of I think it was Herschel. And then he's retired and he moved over to the GSP, and he's actually developed a course through the Graduate School of Business of UCT to actually teach principals how to be better principals, because they are leaders. Yeah. And he was saying how by getting the principal to be a better leader, in the school has actually improved. They're getting better results and better things. So I think it would be an amazing thing if you would perhaps link up with him, because he's got a network of principals, and then you can maybe add your schooler and your entrepreneurship initiatives as part of their training at the GSB, because principals need to realize that this is the fourth industrial revolution, the world is changing, and if we aren't going to have children leave without a spirit of entrepreneurship, we are doing them a huge disservice.
Excellent. Definitely. I think also that we have a few WhatsApp messages that came via 0786 10 11 12, and you can also call us on 021 699 1786. Good morning, Leon, and to Sufyan. Assalamu alaikum. It's always such a pleasure to hear you speak so passionately about education. If only we can have those types of mindsets in our homes. I have two sons, both on high school, and they both are very much really not interested in furthering their career. How do I change this mindset?
I think what's important from my side, I'll just go quickly and then Leon can put his input, is giving them the various options and realizing, because often when we get told of a career, it's often, go to school, do as well as you can, and then go to study something and then a good job, and that's a career. Where careers have actually changed so much in the last 10, 20 years, that a career, for example, an influencer is a career. You can actually have a career by being an influencer, which is basically somebody who does something that they love. It could be anything from fitness to drama to playing video games. And they build up these huge social media followings by posting content on what they love. And they're making a living doing that. And it's work. It takes, I don't know if you know, Zainab, for example, that these people, like, for example, esports is one of these new professions coming around where you can actually be a professional video game player. You have to practice for 10 hours a day. So being a professional video game player, it's a new career and you can actually make a living doing that. And there are people, in fact, esports is going to take over actual sports in terms of viewership. Within the next 10 years or so, more people is going to be watching other people play video games than watch people play soccer or rugby or any actual sport. So we have to change our perception on what a career really is. And with that said, it doesn't mean that traditional careers are going to die and that people shouldn't go. If your passion is teaching and become a teacher, we'll always need teachers, and those traditional professions are always going to be there.
But there are far more opportunities.
But there are a lot of options that are available. We need to widen our scope on what actually a career is.
True. Leon?
Yes, so 100%. Also, I think what's important to mention is and I'll tell you another beautiful story, because I love beautiful stories because they illustrate a point. I bought a MacBook, and I was online, and this little ad jumped up and it said, would you like to get some phenomenal tips on how to use your MacBook? And I was struggling, so I clicked on this little link. I landed on a page and it said, here's a little video, just under 2 minutes. And I clicked on it and it said, take your 3 fingers and swipe that way and this happens on your MacBook. And I went, wow, that's amazing. Okay. And tomorrow I'll send you another tip. And tomorrow I got another email with this other tip, and I clicked on it and it said, swipe your 4 fingers this way and this will happen on your MacBook. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. Here's the interesting thing. All of that stuff's available on YouTube. All right? But this guy had sucked me in because he was only giving me 1 a day. Most on YouTube will tell you 20 tips and you forget them all by the time you finish the video. So the third day, and I know what he's doing because this is what we do. I saw that coming, but I went to see his process. The third day, this little tip came for 2 minutes. And the 4th day, the mail arrived and said, I hope you enjoyed my first 3 free videos. I'd love you to donate and support my cause for $5 a month. Okay? Which is 70 Rand. Take a guess how many people are paying him $5 a month. 20,000.
There's a lot of MacBooks, 10,000?
20,000 times $5.
Wow.
His revenue is over R1 million a month, and he's not an expert. He went onto the Mac, he went onto YouTube, probably looked at all their tips, put one together and said, hey, do you want to get a tip a day? So to answer the question of your listener, what do you do with someone when they don't want a career? To me, the importance was, I went to study, as I told you during the break, but I failed my studies, and then I went back and became a gym instructor because I loved it, and I hit all records and beat everyone else at every single exam there was. So if you can find out what your kids truly, truly love doing, you can monetize that. And by monetizing, I mean you can make a living out of it, not a career. You can make a, the best thing for me, success is making money while I'm having a lovely time. I don't want for anything. I don't need to be a billionaire, but I don't want for anything. So rather find out what they're passionate about and see, can they take that passion and turn it into a business? And even if let's say they were good, they like to do PowerPoint presentations. Well, go and study PowerPoint online, because it's free. You can go and work on PowerPoint and put together a series of 30 PowerPoint tips and start sharing that with people. And they go, okay, we'll pay you 10 Rand a month. And you get 1,000 people and you're making 10 grand a month.
True.
So it's quite easy to create jobs, but how do we get to the masses to tell them about this? This is the challenge.
Absolutely. One more WhatsApp on 0786 101112. Assalamu alaikum, Zainab. It would also be nice to hear the actual success stories of the entrepreneurs themselves and the different ideas that they came up with. Perhaps you can do a program on that. Maybe we should.
At the end, hopefully we have 1,000 business ideas, and there's some really, really interesting ones.
Also, please give us the contact details and the website once again before the end of the program. We will definitely do that, inshallah.
Zainab, I also just want to jump in here quickly as well, just to add to the point that was made. In terms of careers, I think it's important as well that young people apply themselves and recognizing, as Leon said, that applying yourself is not necessarily academically. And the concern that I have with a lot of young people is that they're just not. So if school isn't your thing, great, but then do something else that is your thing. Find, as you gave the example of PowerPoint, get online, watch videos, get yourself active in something. And I'm quite concerned that a lot of youth are not applying themselves academically, they're not applying themselves sport-wise, they're not applying themselves, entrepreneurially, and they're just sort of allowing school to go. And then they don't have the marks, and they're not investing in some other skill. And then, what options are you, are you going to end up pursuing?
Sure.
So that's very, very important that to get themselves involved. I mean, like chess, even for example, you could actually make a career. My brother's into chess, and you mentioned. I'm thinking of this now when you said about the tips. He watches these chess videos from this guy, and this guy makes a living making chess videos, and people like my brother who play chess watch his videos, and if they like it enough, they will donate. He gets a couple of $1,000s a month doing this, operates out of his flat in Czechoslovakia, doing, chess videos. So my point is, if you like chess, if that's your thing, you need to get going already in high school and start playing chess and tell your parents, hang on a second, I'm not doing well academically, but I'm doing super well in chess, and there's a scope for me to actually make something in chess, or whatever the case may be, or be it PowerPoint or Mac or something, but you need to show something. You can't not be doing well in school and then have nothing else going for you. That's not going to cut it.
In fact, that brings me to the next WhatsApp message. Assalamu alaikum. This is truly really inspiring, and thanks so much to Leon for affording us the opportunity to listen to someone who's actually doing something about changing the mindset of people. But how do we come from a system that has almost encouraged us and our children to not think of ourselves as entrepreneurs? How do we get rid of this?
So, one of my biggest dreams would be that right next to geography, English, and maths, there's a subject called entrepreneurship. Full-time in school, and it's actually like English, it is compulsory. And that is an easy thing for government to do. They've been talking about this for 10 years about entrepreneurship. Our president spoke at the State of the Nation address. We need it in our schools. Well, get it in our schools next year. It's quite easy. So how do you change that mindset? Sure, that's such a difficult question because everyone is different, right? But come back to the child. The child can only be, their mind can only be opened up to entrepreneurship if they're exposed to entrepreneurship. So if they're never exposed, they carry on doing their subjects they're doing at school. By the time they finish school, they know nothing about entrepreneurship. So I'm not talking about adults because those are the ones I currently work with. But in terms of school learners, for me, if they're not exposed to entrepreneurship, they will not think about it. So this platform is something that they can come to. We've got articles on motivational videos. It's like a website where they can come get content and start engaging with other entrepreneurs. So this is just the start. Next year something big's coming, but this is just the start of just to get the wheels turning and get people to go, oh, what's this thing, entrepreneurship? So that would be a good start, is find out what entrepreneurship is all about by joining our movement. And parents can follow us in the movement. There's a place for parents, teachers, and kids.
Lovely. Sufyan?
No, definitely. I mean, I think we've been on the same wavelength this whole thing, so I definitely agree with that. And I think also just to add to that, I think, schools themselves, and I think this is the point I'd mentioned about, getting involved with the GSPs that are training principals, is I think, if you're going to wait for government, you're going to wait for eternity. So a simple thing, for example, what schools can do, if they're concerned about, is starting something like an entrepreneurship society at the school, and have them tasked, for example, by at assembly at least once a week to share something entrepreneurially, to invite guest speakers. I mean, like, for example, when I was at high school, I was fortunate to go to Model C school. We had a debating society, we had an interactive society, we had all these different societies, but there was no entrepreneurship society that the school offered. So I think that's also something that's tangible and the schools can do, like, right now. It doesn't have to...
So I'm glad you brought it up, because we've actually partnered with a company called Teen Entrepreneur, which does exactly that. So they have entrepreneur societies, but they're struggling to get funding to run it. They run a 15-week program in the school, and they have between 20 and 40 entrepreneurs between grade 8 and grade 12 that can get involved. But they're only in 16 schools. We have 9,000 schools. So part of our reason of partnering with them is actually to financially help them establish more entrepreneur sites. So that's part of the long term, so you're 100% on the money.
Just one more WhatsApp message on 0786 10 11 12 saying thanks so much for the great show, and I do hope to hear from Leon soon, and you should perhaps bring one of the successful entrepreneurs on, and maybe they can share their story, inshallah.
That'd be fantastic.
Sufyan, any final words from your side?
The details, I think,
we'll do
of
that
the website, and I think just my final message is get involved. Parents, tell your students, and just get involved. Just take the opportunity and see where it goes. Take it with both hands. And we've provided, this is yet another opportunity that we've made the community aware of. If you recall, a few weeks ago, we brought the Alan Gray Orbis Foundation Scholarship. And as I said, when these opportunities come along, take them with both hands. Just apply and go with it.
Leon, your side?
Yes. Well, I would say if parents are listening, whether your child's an entrepreneur or not, let them follow us. You follow us. They can follow us on Instagram under Scooler, on Facebook under Scooler, and they can go to our website and give us their details. We'll have a monthly update on what's going on. If parents have kids at school between that age, go and speak to the principal. Go and speak to the business. Sometimes they're business economics teachers. Go and tell them about it, because if they can tell the students, the more people we get involved, the more people that are understanding entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
And my final, which is only off on a negative note, is that in 1995 we had 2.4 million people unemployed in this country. Today, this second quarter of this year, we have 6.08 million people unemployed in South Africa. So hopefully this will make a difference, because my goal is to train 1 million entrepreneurs to each create 5 jobs, and that's 5 million jobs. Whereas the Yes campaign, which is part of the government's campaign, is to create 1 million jobs. I want to create entrepreneurs to make those jobs come alive.
And we do hope that you did do that.
You too.
And we will definitely follow up on that. Leon Lategan, who is the brainchild of the school entrepreneur movement. He is the CEO of the Lion's Den, an entrepreneurial company involved in numerous initiatives around coaching, educating, and creating entrepreneurs. He also identified the need to cultivate an entrepreneurial spirit in schools to enable the youth to shape their own futures by exploring an alternative to mainstream tertiary education. Now, remember, if you need any further details, you may contact them, or you may visit the website on www.schooler.co.za. Follow them on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course we have the details for Sufyan, who is the educational coach and also maths and science tutor. You can call him on 079-194-8785 for any further details. That's 079-194-8785. And as we said, and Sufyan ended off saying, get involved, definitely. Also, when I started the interview, I did say that the possibilities are endless, and so no one can say that there was no opportunities for them, because there are always opportunities, and so take it with both hands, inshallah. And on that note, many thanks for listening and also for participating. This concludes the program Community Pulse this morning. If there's any details that you may have missed, we will leave it at reception for you, so you can call us on 021-699-1786. That's it for Community Pulse. From myself, Zainab B, my guest in studio, we bid you assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.